Hello, I hope you are doing well. My name is Jacqueline Vino from Golossal Learning Solutions, and welcome to the Genuine Learning blog. Today, we are going to talk about something that is very interesting, which is a report that has been released by the AICPA's National Pipeline Advisory Group, or NPAG for short. So the NPAG is actually a committee within the AICPA that was formed to address the accounting talent pipeline shortage that so many of us are faced with right now. I actually had the wonderful opportunity to travel to Las Vegas this past June for the AICPA's annual Engage conference, and I had a wonderful opportunity to actually listen in onto a session from the NPAG and hear from them directly talking about all of the great work that they're doing to try to address this shortage to the best of their ability. So we have a lot of information to get through. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the official report that was released by the NPAG is called the Accounting Talent Strategy Report, and that was released on July 31st of 2024. So basically the objective is they really wanted to analyze some of these root causes, right? Why is the pipeline shortage so oppressive right now? What is really going on? What are the potential solutions and next steps that they are trying to come up with? So they actually collected tons of data on this. So they actually had a national pipeline survey. They conducted focus groups with state societies and firms. They held discussions with professionals and regulatory bodies, and more than 7,950 students and accounting professionals actually took the national survey, and more than 1,600 people actually participated in these focus groups. So the NPAG did a really great job of trying to talk to as many different people as possible, many different backgrounds, whether they're students, whether they're current professionals, and they compiled this report as a result of all of the wonderful data that they collected. So what are some of the reasons behind this pipeline shortage, right? In order for us to identify what some of those best solutions are going to be, first off, we have to have that deeper understanding of what is really going on. The first thing that they noticed was just a major shift in demographics that was really a leading factor behind this pipeline shortage. So key changes in the US labor market. There was actually some census data that the report cited, and it showed that the US working age population only grew by 3% from 2010 to 2020. There's also some pretty steep drop in fertility rates. There's a growing pool of retirees, and really just simply put, there's not enough people in Gen Z to replace these baby boomers anyways, just much smaller population percentage-wise compared to them. Additionally, there's just also not enough people to meet the growing demand for accountants and auditors, which is projected to grow by 4% from 2022 to 2032. So really all of that is just creating this overall problem of the pipeline, right? Just not enough people to replace the people that are leaving. Another thing that I thought was pretty interesting from the report is actually regional differences. So this talent shortage is not really being felt equally across the entire country. So the most severe places are actually in the Midwest, in the Southeast, and also parts of New England. So in my home state of South Carolina, they actually presented a heat map on the report, and we showed up as one of the most severe states that are being impacted by the shortage. However, there are some states that aren't being impacted as heavily. So states where there's really dense populations, places like Texas, California, New York, New Jersey, they aren't being impacted as heavily as, the Midwest, the Southeast, parts of New England. Another thing is that students are actually choosing to explore other options outside of earning a bachelor's degree. This is kind of a fun fact here that I thought was really interesting from the report, but undergraduate college enrollment actually fell by 15% from 2010 to 2021. So this is actually a downward trend that was happening before the pandemic. I think a lot of people were kind of under the impression, myself included, that one of the major reasons for a drop in college attendance was due to the pandemic, but that is definitely not the case, as this report points out. Additionally, there are parents that they surveyed. So 46% of parents actually believed that two-year colleges or some sort of on-the-job training or going to trade schools was actually a better option for their child, as opposed to sending their child to get a four-year degree. So that is also something that is a pretty interesting shift. Additionally, kind of the mindset around attending college is also changing in Gen Z demographics. So they actually surveyed people that were 18 to 29 years old back in 2013. So in this case, millennials that were being surveyed. And millennials thought that 74% believed that attending college was something that was very important. However, in 2019, it was only 41%, right? So a pretty steep decline around the perceptions of getting a 4-year degree. And last but certainly not least, students are actually choosing other majors. And I'm actually somebody that I used to recruit for a small firm that I interned at Clemson University, which is my alma mater. And I remember when I was, in the room with all of the other firms, I used to think, I'm in competition with all of these other firms to get the top talent. And the truth is that is kind of a misguided view. Really, accounting as a whole, our profession is really in competition, not firm to firm, but we're competing with all the STEM majors. So accounting is perceived by students as being not as attractive as a major compared to other types of, pathways they can take. For example, like computer science, engineering, economics, statistics. A lot of these majors, they don't require you to get a master's degree. They don't require 150 hours for a license. But we're really trying to compete with these STEM majors, right? They have higher starting salaries out of college. They don't require students to obtain an additional degree after getting a bachelor's degree. And, that is something that a lot of students find to be more attractive than majoring in accounting. So keeping in mind all of these, negative factors and key, contributions to this pipeline issue, what is the NPAG recommending that we are, going to hopefully do to reduce some of this pipeline shortage here? And the first thing that they thought was, let's make the academic experience a little bit more engaging. I'm sure all of us can remember our, introduction to accounting courses and general principles in accounting and all of that, and kind of how boring a lot of those courses were and how difficult they were. In my college, at least, it was definitely something that was a weed out course, and it wasn't really taught to be the most engaging experience. It was just the debits and credits, the financial statements. There wasn't really any people and professionals coming in to talk about what their experience was like in accounting. We really didn't talk about all of the job opportunities in accounting. So NPAG is saying, let's change that. They really want to revamp what is taught in principles of accounting. They want to harness technology to bring the content to life in different ways. They want to have different mentors and champions and professionals come in and talk to students. So students are aware of really all of the different avenues that are available to them if they choose to become licensed CPAs and go that route with their life. Another thing that they are suggesting is to address the time and cost of education. So what NPAG recognizes is a lot of CPA candidates need to begin work immediately after completing their bachelor's degrees. So they don't have, and maybe they don't have the 150 credits that they need to get licensed. What NPAG is suggesting is they need a more cost-effective way for students to earn that final 30 credit hours that is needed for licensure. So this is definitely one of the more controversial topics that came up when we were all in Las Vegas, and I was listening to some of these presentations. But the NPAG is, trying to recognize and recommend other avenues for students to take. So maybe some experiential learning that helps students earn college credits that can be delivered by a college or university, maybe having some experiential on-the-job learning delivered by the employer or some other third party, all different avenues that the NPAG is exploring. Another thing is grow support for CPA exam candidates, right? So they are trying to address the cost of the exams, rewarding individuals for passing parts of the exams, encouraging employers to offer flexibility and time off for students to study and take the exams, and also trying to simplify the application process and revamping the exams themselves. So kind of, stepping away from just your basic, FAR, audit, reg, and BEC. Now they're, pursuing alternative routes for that, which is another kind of whole topic in and of itself. Prioritizing strategies to expand across underrepresented groups. So in this case, they talked about, targeted messages to those types of individuals, closer relationships, working with minority serving institutions as well, just to get the word out there, try to garner interest from some of these underrepresented groups. Enhancing the employee experience, another wonderful recommendation. This one is going to be on the employers though. This is where we talk about having those higher starting salaries for accounting to compete with STEM majors. Also having better work-life balance, better, more manageable workloads for students. These are all things that students have really negative perceptions of when they're in college. And last but certainly not least, tell a more compelling story. I know I'm no exception to this. I feel like when people would ask me about public accounting, I would kind of bond with other people over some of the horror stories, right? The busy season hours, how difficult some of that work really can be. But as a whole, we really don't do a good job selling the positives of the profession. So the last thing that the NPAG is pushing for is really this grassroots effort for everybody that does have a CPA license or is in the accounting field, also talking about some of those positives, right? Talking about the many opportunities that you can have, your future earning potential. There really are a lot of positives, a growing demand for the profession. So we need to sell those in addition to talking about our, horror stories, so to speak. So this was definitely a lot of information. So where can you find this report? What we have done is I have linked this report in to the NPAG. It takes you directly to that report, and it really is an interesting read. I would definitely encourage anyone to read it if they want to get some more information on this. But once again, my name is Jacqueline from Galasso Learning Solutions, and thank you so much for attending this blog. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I also hope to see you on a future blog. Thank you and have a good day.